What's going on, sports fans? As been a great playoff so far. Yankees, great game, bunch of cool storylines. Uh, but started all off very first inning. IKF makes an error, kind of a bad error too. And then a couple innings later, we had runners on first and second with one out, and he hit into a weak double play. This is a 260 hitter with a 650 OPS. He should not be starting for the New York Yankees. Don't get me wrong, he did hit a single/double down the line. It turned into a little league triple after Donaldson's should have been a home run, should have been a fly out in most stadiums, but should have been a home, could have, whatever, that play. But anyways, yeah, that was like a single or double, which is cool and turned into a run. But that doesn't outweigh hitting into the double play in a bad situation and making an error, which Cole's night got off to a shaky start. 20 pitches in the first inning, then he escapes that bases loaded jam after allowing the home run to Quan. Like, he could have had a quick exit. He's at like 60 pitches after 3 innings, and getting an error in the first inning is not the way to start a game. So especially to your shortstop. It's one thing if you're like first baseman makes an error, or your left field slugger like 38-year-old Barry Bonds. You can work with that. But a soft hitting shortstop making an error in the first game of the playoffs, I'm sorry, no, it's not acceptable. Like, dude should not be starting. I like IKF. He should be on the roster. He should get playing time in a 7-game series, 2, 3, 4 starts. That's fine. He shouldn't be an everyday starter. I made that take that Nestor Cortez should start game 1 and Cole should start 2. For a second, it looked like I was super right. And again, not because I thought Cole shouldn't play, but because I think Cole can do better on a short rest. And then once we were up 4-1, I was actually surprised to see him go back out there. Getting him up around 100 pitches when he has to pitch on short rest, I'm not sure how much of a beast he is. I know that's fine for now, but if we go into the World Series, I just hope that, like, when I was a pitcher, I never wanted to come out. So I threw 136 pitches when I was in 8th grade one time. So this could be new school me being swayed. Jarrett Cole is a huge human, so he's probably fine. Also, people forget to factor in like bullpens. Like, pitchers don't really throw 100 pitches. They like warm up between pitches. It's really more like if you throw like 7 warm up pitches every inning, and even though they're only partial percentage, if 7 pitches at 70% or 80% is like 4 pitches. 4 pitches extra every inning of 7 innings is like 28 pitches. So really, it's like you threw like 125 essentially kind of pitches, and that happens all the time. So I guess I might be slightly overreacting. And I did say our bullpen is weaker. So yeah, I'm not like questioning the decision, but with the 4-1 lead, you should probably trust your bullpen to do that. If you can't hold a 4-1 lead, you're not going to win the playoffs anyways. So I guess I do double down on that. We probably should have taken Cole out, or at least maybe let him throw like one batter. Don't let him go back out again. But Stephen Kwan, that was fun. I did not know that storyline. So in a game back in April or May, I think Donaldson hit a ball to the wall. Kwan goes to get it, hits the wall, gets concussed. It's like woozy trying to get it. Our fans are like yelling racist slurs at him. Miles Straw goes over, throws the ball in, hears it, like Spider-Man climbs the wall, goes and starts yelling at the fans and be like, don't talk to my boy like that. They start throwing like beer bottles and stuff because, New Yorkers are dicks. Aaron Judge and Giancarlo have to like come out to like simmer down the situation. Miles Straw in a post-game conference says that the Yankee fans are the worst in the league, which is obviously not true. Everyone knows that's Red Sox fans. But then Stephen Kwan comes out and hits that patented Jarrett Cole home run. He hits a home run into the right field bleachers. Would have been dope if he hit it to left field, but it was a scary start to the game, especially with the bases getting loaded an inning or two after that. But I'm glad for Kwan that he got his redemption, and hopefully that can make fans realize that you should not be rude to professional athletes. They have the ability to make you look stupid or beat the crap out of you like Miles Straw was willing to do. Reminds me of one, I think it's Chris Bosh's mom was talking smack to LeBron. He just absolutely turned us to a whole nother gear. It's like, don't forget that these are professional athletes who are getting paid to do a job. They are doing that job. And it's there's no reason to knock Stephen Kwan for his last name being Kwan. And who are you to be talking? You're sitting in the left field bleachers in Yankee Stadium. It's not like you're some baller CEO sitting behind home plate. You're just some dude. This is $1 million outfielder who's going to win Rookie of the Year. hit 298. It's the highest Cleveland rookies hit since like Larry Doby in like 1948. So come on, give the guy some respect. He deserves it. And since we won, I'm happy he hit that home run. Got to keep Jarrett Cole's streak alive of 9 straight games with a bomb allowed. That is an unfortunate streak, but a run's just a run. So go both ways on that. But yeah, it's an exciting game. We did really well. Team showed up. There were a few too many strikeouts on against Cal Quantrill at the beginning. That was a little concerning. The Judge one was questionable at best. It was a call on Judge, the 6'7" umpire who called a slider like painted low and outside corner, which could have been called a strike. I was mad about the time, but then I was like, yeah, it could have been called a strike. But then when Cole had the bases loaded against Andres Jimenez, he threw a similar pitch, except instead of being on the corner, it was at the bottom of the zone. It was actually a little higher than Judge's, and it was called a ball, which would have been strike 3, and it's absolutely blasphemous. It did seem like a bias. It's a similar pitch, but to a guy who's 6 to 8 inches shorter. And I felt really disrespected. It felt like the 6'7" dude should see where Judge is coming from. And it's like I don't know. But that definitely seemed like there was some personal bias involved there. If I was really good at this, I'd post clips of both videos, but you can look it up. It's Judge in the first and then Jimenez in the second or third. And it absolutely, they should have been called the same. If not, Judge is a ball and Jimenez a strike. Personally, I would have called Judge is a ball and Jimenez a strike. Again, Judge should have swung, but so it's like, it's not necessarily the ump's fault he got called swinging. He should have put a check swing on that, but the fact they were called different is horrible. So yeah, that Yankees game was exciting. Really looking forward to Bieber Cortez in game 2. Should be fun. Maybe not fun is the right word because Bieber was lights out in the previous outing. It was interesting to see James Karinchak coming in actually when they were down 4-1. That shows how much the Tito believes anything is possible. He's got the magic from the Red Sox, and how much he doesn't think our bullpen is dominant. But even when Clay Holmes hit the first batter and scared us all to death, Holmes and Loaiziga were pumping those sinkers, which is good playoff baseball. In the regular season, people are trying to strike everyone out and all that kind of stuff. Everyone's trying to hit home runs. It gets a little more old school in the playoffs. So I am confident having those 2 sinker ballers at the end. So things are looking good for us there. As far as the Jarrett Cole, there are some really cool stats about him, actually. People have talked about his playoff history, and he's actually in some amazing company. He made his 15th career postseason start, earned the win, which is his 9th win. He's one of only 3 people to do that: Chris Carpenter and El Duque, Orlando Hernandez. He's now 9-5 with a 2.83 ERA and 119 Ks in 92 innings. He's allowed 2 runs or fewer in 10 of his 15 career postseason starts and 1 or fewer in 8 of those starts. As cool as that sounds, if he's allowed 1 or fewer in 8 and 2 or fewer in 10, and his ERA is only 2.83, that kind of implies those other 5 were kind of clunkers. So that does go hand in hand with the Jarrett Cole narrative. As a Yankee, 3.38 ERA in 5 postseason starts. So the good stuff, but 41 Ks in 26 innings is otherworldly. His slider was super sharp, looked great yesterday. He's tossed at least 6 innings, 1 run or fewer in 7 of his first postseason. 6 innings and 1 run or less in 7 of his first 15 postseason games. He's just one of 6 pitchers to do that in his first 15 games, joining Kurt Schilling, Catfish Hunter, Mad Bum, El Duque, and Whitey Ford. That being said, Kurt Schilling did 9 and Catfish did 8, but those are all some guys with great postseason resumes, and the list goes on. He's recorded 8 Ks in 8 of his last 12 postseason starts and 8 Ks in 4 of his 5 with the Yankees. And his 119 Ks through 15 postseason appearances are the second most by anyone through their first 15, only trailing the big unit, Randy Johnson, by 1 strikeout. So that's pretty amazing. As a Yankee fan, I definitely remember Randy Johnson mowing us down in 2001. Johnson and Schilling were absolutely lights out. So that is really cool that he's being mentioned with those kind of names. So that's really exciting. And what's not exciting is how well the Dodgers did. I know Mike Clevenger is not their ace by any means. His strikeout rate was down a lot than it was in the past, but he really struggled to get outs. Fortunately for the Padres, their bullpen kept him in the game. They only lost 5-3. Would have been 4-3 if not for an error. But, it is what it is. What's unfortunate to see is Dodgers closer Chris Martin, who is 6'8", 220 pounds, has got that nice vertical plane, has absolutely ridiculous numbers. He's got like a .53. I never understand when stuff like this happens. He was pitching in the National League for the Cubs. Maybe he just didn't care, but the Wrigley Field's like a great place to pitch. And dude has like a .5 whip on the Dodgers and like a 1 ERA in 20 innings. But for the Cubs, so Cubs, 31 innings, 4.3 ERA, 40 Ks in 31 innings, 1.34 whip. So like just a little bit average, below average. For the Dodgers, 24 innings, 34 Ks, 1.46 ERA, 0.53 whip, which is eerily similar to what he did in 2020 COVID-shortened season for Atlanta, 18 innings, 20 Ks, 0.61 whip. So he's back in that 0.6, 0.5 range, which is terrifying. Career whip of 1.15. And in the postseason, 13 innings, he's got a career 2.03 ERA, 0.9 whip. So that's not good. The Dodgers have this dude all of a sudden. Bruce Gratterall seems to have figured it out. Talking last time, I was talking about Jordan Hicks and people who throw 103 miles an hour and get arm injuries. Gratterall's had a couple injuries, but that dude has the most effortless 100 miles an hour in the history of baseball and will probably never be matched. There'll be people who throw harder and can do it for longer, like a Chapman. But Gratterall literally looks like he's throwing batting practice, and it comes out 103 with movement. And again, that's the kind of ball that's going to play in the playoffs. You're trying to do a bunt. That's not a fun dude to bunt against. There's situational hitting. Like you might run into a double now and again because he does throw mostly fastballs, but that's having him and Chris Martin at the end of their bullpen. Vesia is a killer lefty. That's just scary. And they have so many starters. They can move any one of those guys to the bullpen. So Dodgers really are a tough matchup. Will Smith and Trey Turner were smacking the ball. So it really looks like it's going to be the Dodgers in the World Series. And I'm actually got to say, I feel like it could be the Yankees at this point. I know the Astros had a magnificent win yesterday. Verlander gets tagged. They're down 7-3 at one point, and they come back with a 3-run home run. Jordan, lefty on lefty walk-off versus Cy Young winner from a year ago, Robbie Ray. That's just, you can't make that stuff up. Like, you can say that's the storybook ending, and it looks like the Astros are primed to repeat, and it's just one blip on the radar for Verlander coming off a 1.75 ERA. And, I mean, his first start back October 4th, he threw 5 hitless innings and 10 Ks, but he is just coming back from a calf injury. He's a 39-year-old dude. So the fact that he comes back that sharp and then is getting tagged by the Mariners, who are definitely a subpar offense, it's like Julio Rodriguez, Mitch Haniger, Cal Raleigh, and no one else really. That's a good sign. He is human. He is 39. He's coming off an injury. He could be, experiencing some hitability or humanness or whatever Justin Verlander used to be. And Verlander is an interesting scenario. I've been talking to my friends about comparing this year's Judge to Barry Bonds from back in the day, and which is more impressive. And everyone's like, oh, look at Bonds' OPS plus, and he's all that. But if you look at him compared to his peers, Bonds was like better than McGwire and Sosa, but like the difference between Bonds and McGwire and Sosa, and like Luis Gonzalez hit like 320 with 57 home runs in 2001. Like everyone was doing everything back then. Whereas Judge, there's not a single person except for maybe Jordan Alvarez who's even close to his level. Schwarber hit 16 home runs last 46, but dude's like a 250 hitter. So besides Jordan, there's absolutely no one on Judge's level. And that really shows just how amazing what it is Judge is doing. Then the comment about Bonds was that no one, because I was looking into Randy Johnson with if he's on steroids, and the argument was Bonds is the only person who's like gotten better as he's aged, but actually Randy Johnson did that as well. His makes a little more sense because he did figure it out in 93 and 95 before steroids. So he really did start turning into the big unit, but he did kind of reach another level with Arizona. I personally think he did HGH. I don't think he was doing anything malicious to reach another level. I just think he was using it for healing. Dude did start having back injuries toward the end of his career, which is normal for someone who's 6'10", but also not normal for someone who's 6'10" to be performing that well that late. I know he's not normal and he's limber for someone his size, but it just brings up question marks. And then that brings us to Justin Verlander, who totally revamped his career in Houston. I know Charlie Morton did that as well, started throwing more stopped throwing sinkers and started really pumping those four-seam fastballs, and they seem to have some sort of magic in Houston. But it is weird that Verlander has gotten this good. So hopefully that's coming to an end and Father Time's catching up with him. But they unfortunately have a bunch of other dudes in Houston who are ready to next man up. Framber Valdez, freaking McCullers is good again. Like it's not going to be a fun matchup. But except for Jordan, I'm not as scared of Altuve and Bregman as I were in years past. Kyle Tucker's good, but I'm not terribly scared of Kyle Tucker. They do have a better roster overall than the Yankees, but I really do think the Yankees have the firepower to compete with them. And especially Cole would go against them. I think he would show up. I think he knows those hitters, and he would have that fire. That slider's been biting. So I do think Cole's a good matchup versus them. Nestor's kind of safe versus anyone. And again, Severino's been lights out. So right as of now, I would actually say the Yankees are favored to beat the Astros. I know I'm going out there. Not many people would agree with that, but I do. But then once we get to the Dodgers, unfortunately, once anyone gets the Dodgers, they are going to be the underdog. So it's a good playoffs. I'm really looking forward to Kershaw versus Darvish tonight. The two dudes with amazing careers that no one realizes just how good they are. Darvish was amazing as a rookie with Texas. Didn't quite live up to that potential for a while, but then in the last few years has been lights out. He was like, his stats are crazy good. His strikeouts are like otherworldly. People just don't realize, like, they take Yu Darvish for granted. When someone's supposed to be that guy, like Bryce Harper, it took Harper a while to get there. People kind of like, is he really all that? When all is said and done, Bryce Harper is going to be like one of the top 15 best baseball players of all time. And Yu Darvish this year had a 3.1 ERA and a 0.95 WHIP. He also had a 2.01 ERA and a 0.96 WHIP in the shortened 2020 season. Looked like he was easily going to be a Cy Young candidate that year. Had an off year in his first year with San Diego, but an off year for him still is a 1.09 WHIP with 199 Ks and 166 innings. His K rate was a little down this year, 197 and 194. But if you're striking out over a batter per inning and allowing less than a runner per inning, you're elite in everyone's book. Dude has a whole kitchen sink to throw at people. Got like 7 or 8 pitches, 6'5". Absolutely crazy how good Yu Darvish is and how people take that for granted. Unfortunately, he does just have 8 postseason appearances because he's played for teams like Texas in his career and the Cubs. But he's got a 4.5 ERA and a 1.1 WHIP. So 1.1 WHIP is still good. If he can shove against the Dodgers, he can really show just how great of a player he is. And then, of course, Kershaw, we talked about how bad his postseason was for the longest time. But he's got some gems mixed in there. His career postseason ERA is down to 4.59. Again, that's not good, but 201 Ks, 168 innings, 116 WHIP. I'm just on my phone. I didn't do research. This is just a rant I'm happening. But I'm going to go ahead and go out on a whim and say his FIP is a lot better than 4.59. You know what? I'm gonna back that up. Let's see. I'll bet his with a 116 WHIP and 201 Ks, I'm gonna guess his FIP is like 3.6 in the postseason, and that's not great, but you're facing better teams in the postseason. People act like he is the best pitcher of all time in the regular season. The dude has a career 2.48 ERA. That's just unheard of, and a career 1 WHIP. That's the best of all time. His career FIP is 2.76. Interesting. I would actually think with as little walks he allows and as few home runs as he allows, that actually I guess his home runs have spiked a little bit, but it's only 10 this year. Let's see what that career FIP is in the playoffs. So my statement's not looking as good based on the fact that his career FIP is higher than his career ERA. Interesting. Baseball Reference says his career postseason ERA is 4.19. Why is there a discrepancy there? 4.19 is a lot better than 4.59. I'm going to trust Baseball Reference over Yahoo Sports. So 4.19 ERA and not giving me the FIP, but a 1.07 WHIP. That's pretty good stuff. 9.9 K to 9, 4.1 K to walk. Like, Clayton Kershaw is good at stuff. Does Google know? Clayton Kershaw career postseason FIP. What a funny sounding word. Career postseason FIP. He's got to save. No, not getting that. I'm going to give up then. Day's done. Day's ruined. What do you know? Well, anyways, that one should be good. Really hoping that the Yankees can steal one against Bieber. But, Game 3 is Tristan McKenzie, who's a similar pitcher to Cal Quantrill. First couple innings was looking like Cal Quantrill was just going to hit those corners, keep us on our toes. Someone like Cal Quantrill, you should not be swinging for the fences on, same as McKenzie. He's going to spot up low and away at like 92 to 95. And that's a good pitch that, unless you're Aaron Judge, you can't hit a home run on. So unfortunately, people like Gleyber Torres, Giancarlo, and Josh Donaldson, who still swing for the fences every time, even though they're not as good as they were 3 years ago, it would be nice to see some of them make adjustments against McKenzie after seeing them struggle against Quantrill for the first couple innings. But the fact that we did get to him, that looks good, because Quantrill's movement, ball has like no movement. McKenzie doesn't have much movement either, but he is a couple inches taller at 6'5" versus 6'3" and has more deception. So, and he's got that filthy curveball. Quantrill's got a good fastball, a nice little tight slider, but that's not the swing and miss. And McKenzie's is filth. So I'm a little more worried about McKenzie, but the fact that we handled Quantrill, I think we've got it. I think we're going to be up 2-1 after Bieber, most likely. Hopefully we pull it out against Bieber tomorrow, but I do think the Guardians will probably pull that one away, and we'll be up 2-1, and then most likely take Game 4. So looks like it's going to be 3-1. You heard it here first.